we already discussed, you do that with impartiality. You do that with respect to all sentient beings as the object, or even with regard to those which are not sentient beings. You also take the responsibility of the, preserving the environment, trees, etc., because they are the places where sentient beings stay. They are the things where sentient beings enjoy. Okay, so therefore taking care of sentient being doesn't mean just the person, just the sentient being, but anything that is going to help them flourish, contribute towards their life. So you need to take care of all of that. And whatever comes in your mind, you should ensure that that is influenced by your mind training practice, not just on the level of speaking, but deep down in your heart. There's the meaning. Far-reaching, that means something that goes all-encompassing, that encompasses sentient beings, non-sentient beings, everything, and far-reaching, the deep down practice, not just verbal. Because saying is one thing, doing is another thing. So it's not just saying, but doing it with deep feeling. That's the meaning. Then seek for the three principal conditions. Seek for the three principal conditions means that when you do Dharma practice, there could be many conditions, but there are three main principal conditions. One of the main principal condition or factor for your Dharma practice is to meet a good teacher, good spiritual teacher. Second is that your mind should be serviceable. Your mind should be ready to do the Dharma practice and able to properly practice Dharma. That's the second condition. And third is that you should have the needed facilities for doing your Dharma practice. So you should see whether you have these three conditions.
What is the third one, please?
Third one is having the needed facilities for your Dharma practice. So if you find that you have all these three conditions, then rejoice and pray that others should also have these three factors. And if one of these three factors are missing in your case, and then you should also think that it's not just me, there are many others who want to do Dharma practice but who do not have these principal conditions, and therefore they are unable to do proper Dharma practice, and therefore you should develop compassion towards all those who do not have those facilities. Meaning that when you see many people doing wrong things, it's easy to blame that person is doing wrong thing, things like that. But if you look carefully, why that person is doing wrong? Because that person is full of ignorance. He did not have good teacher, good guidance, you see. So more or less we are insane, you see. When somebody is insane, he does anything. That's what mad people do. When they are mad, they do everything. Because their mind is not functioning properly. So similarly, when our mind is also not trained, we have that kind of insanity, you see. Nobody wants to do something bad knowingly, but most of the bad things are done unknowingly. Lack of knowledge, lack of temporary benefit, long-term benefit, and so forth. So therefore, there is every reason to develop compassion when you see such people who do not have such principal conditions. purify the coarse ones first. That means, as we discussed already, that you have so many afflictive emotions, but out of this many afflictive emotions, some of them may be more in your mind. They have a more predominant practices. So it is important, first of all, to cultivate counter forces against those afflictive emotions, and thereby try to tame your mind. That's the meaning. Then next one says, practice that which is more effective. That means that from beginningless time, we have taken all kinds of lives. But most of this lives that we got, we have wasted them. So therefore, I will make sure that I do not waste this life and fulfill the main purposes of this life. So therefore, it is more important for me to do Dharma practice than fulfilling this life's purposes alone. And with regard to Dharma practice, there are two. One which is primarily studying, learning, and the second is practice. So out of these two, the more important one is practice. It is through practice. Within the practice also there are so many practices to do, but the main practice is the practice of mind in cultivating the bodhicitta. And in training your mind towards bodhicitta also, it could be trained by simply rely on the teachings, citing the quotations of the teachers, or using logical reasoning. But here it says it is important that you rely more on the instructions of the Lama. And with your physical activities also, you can adopt so many physical activities, like going around everywhere or sitting in one place and doing the practice. So out of which it says this time it is better that you sit in one place and do the practice. There's one teaching which says that even though your feet is swept, you've reached many places, but you have not reached where you should reach. So that's the meaning. Okay. And it's also better to rely on positive counter forces than simply avoiding the object. Okay. So these are the principal practices that you need to do this time. Don't let the three factors weaken. Don't let the three factors become weak. So that means when you talk about cultivating all these Mahayana qualities, like the qualities of bodhicitta and so forth, whether you can cultivate those qualities or not is very much dependent on your veneration and respect to the teacher, to the Lama. So therefore, when you engage in such practice, you should not let your veneration and respect to the Lama decline or become weak. Number one. Second, this mind training practice is in fact the most important or hard practice within the Mahayana practice. So therefore, when it comes to meditating on this Mahayana mind training practice, there should be continuous delight and joy. So do not let this delight and joy become weak. Do not let it decline. Second. Third, when you engage in such practice, as we are already reading now, it's important to observe all the precepts, major precepts or minor precepts, and do not let these precepts become weak or decline. So that is the third practice. Don't let the three factors weaken. That's the meaning. Never be parted from the three possessions. That means never be parted from the three possessions means your body should not be separated from virtuous practice. Your speech should not be separated from virtuous practice. Your mind should not be separated from spiritual practice. So physical practice, spiritual practice, mental practice, all these three must be there all the time. That's the meaning. Never be parted from the three possessions. Meaning verbal practice, physical practice, mental practice. Practice that which is more effective. Don't learn. If you relapse, meditate on it as antidote. I don't see this here. If you relapse, meditate on it as antidote. I don't see it in the Tibetan text, but I think it means that if you relapse means if you, just like a sick person, relapsing, if you go back to your bad habit, then you should make it off by meditating on its antidotes. Okay? Engage in the principal practices right now. I don't see that also. Funny. Engage in the principal practices. So it's, I think, similar like as I explained earlier, that you should primarily focus on practice, primarily focus on mind training practice, and primarily focus on the instruction that you get from the teacher. That's I think similar as I explained earlier. In the future, always put on armor. In the future, also put on armor, but it's clear. I don't see it in the Tibetan text again, but that means, as I said earlier, when you undertake this practice of fighting against the afflictive emotions, it's really like going into war. When you go into the war, you need to make sure that you are protected. You put on the armor. So armor of patience, so forth. So that's the meaning. In the future, always put on armor. Not only you are able to practice right now, but in the future also, when you do the practice, it is possible that you will encounter a lot of hurdles, a lot of hardships and problems. So you should put on the armor so that you do not give up. Don't apply wrong understanding. So there are 6 types of wrong understanding. Don't apply wrong understanding means there are 6 types of wrong understanding. This will be very interesting for you. So listen carefully. 6 misunderstandings. When it comes to do Dharma practice, you are not able to tolerate some of the hardships that you encounter. When you do Dharma practice, you will also encounter some hardship. For example, even when you attend such teaching, you get a little bit of knee pain or back pain and things like that, okay? You cannot do some of the household jobs, so you get some hardship, some problem. So you become impatient. You are unable to practice patience. But when it comes to doing ordinary things which are less meaningful, less important, you have a lot of patience. So that is called wrong patience. Wrong patience. As I have told you earlier, that Shantideva in his Bodhicharyavatara says that even in ordinary life, to earn your livelihood, you need to be patient. I had given you the example of the farmers, the fishermen and so forth. Lot of hardship, but normally you are quite patient with that. But when it comes to Dharma practice, you are unable to have patience even with some small problems. But otherwise it's very easy, just sitting here in the shade, and you can stretch your leg, nobody is forcing you, but still you have some little bit lack of patience. So that clearly shows in what way we are inclined and interested. And most of us do not have much interest in doing a pure Dharma practice, but we have a lot of aspiration and interest in collecting wealth for this life. So that is called wrong interest, wrong aspiration. Isn't this true? Third, you do not like to taste the flavor of the Dharma through hearing, thinking and meditation. You do not want to taste the flavor of Dharma through hearing, thinking and meditation. First of all, how many people are interested in Dharma? Second, those who are interested in Dharma, they may do a little bit of hearing and then give up. Forget, they will never do thinking and meditation. Some may do hearing and thinking, no meditation. So very few people will be left who will continuously do hearing, thinking and meditation. So unless you do meditation, you will not get much benefit. I'll give you an example. This is important because when we talk about Buddhist practice, we always say you should do the Buddhist practice through the three processes of hearing, thinking and meditation. All these three are important. Why it is important? I give you an example. If you are thirsty and looking for water and you have no idea where water is available, then you need to ask somebody the question where water is available. Then that somebody says water is available 2 kilometers from here. So that hearing that water is available 2 kilometers from here at such and such place, is that important? Is that important?
Yes.
But is that enough?
No.
Nobody will say, oh thank, now I know where water is available. I don't have to drink. Nobody will say that. That will not quench your thirst. But that hearing is important. So therefore hearing is important. Now after having heard, what is important is you need to walk for 2 kilometers. Ride a car, whatever, walk, whatever. You need to go for 2 kilometers to the place where water is available. So that walking for 2 kilometers is, thinking is like walking for this 2 kilometers. You walk 2 kilometers and you reach near the water, you now see the water. So there's big progress. That walking for 2 kilometers and being able to see the water is a big progress. But is that enough?
No.
If you say, oh thank God, I saw the water, enough, I come back. Nobody will say that, you see, because still you are thirsty, you have not drunk water. So the third important thing is to drink. Use your hand or cup or mug or whatever, drink the water. Then it's only by drinking water that your thirst can be quenched. So now you can clearly see how all these three are important.
This is the meditation.
Exactly. Hearing, thinking and meditation. So, most of us are not interested in testing the Dharma through hearing, thinking and meditation, but we are very fond of testing the worldly pleasures. So that is called wrong testing. Wrong testing. Fourth is when you see somebody undergoing lot of hardship in his or her Dharma practice, then you develop compassion to that person. Oh poor thing, he is working so hard for his Dharma practice. You develop compassion to that person. But when somebody is doing sinful activities, then you don't develop compassion to that person. That is called wrong compassion. Because when you see somebody doing Dharma practice, he is not worthy of compassion, he is really worthy of appreciation, rejoicing. It's wonderful that he is doing Dharma practice. But when somebody is doing wrong things, then you should develop compassion. But you do the other way around. So that's called wrong compassion. Then, in the case of those people who are dependent upon you, your relatives, husband, wife, brother, sister and so forth, who are dependent upon you, you will heartily make an attempt to help them get into the Dharma practice. But instead of that, you will help them get into business, how to earn money. It's called wrong effort. You make an effort. You don't make effort for these people to make them enter into Dharma practice, but you will make effort for them to engage in how to make money. The wrong effort, wrong application. The final one is called wrong rejoicing. Wrong rejoicing, which means you are unable to rejoice the virtuous qualities and the peace that you get when you transcend the samsara. But when you see your enemy suffering, then you rejoice. That's called wrong rejoicing. So you should stop this 6 misunderstandings and practice the 6 proper understandings, the right ones. Give up the wrong ones and do the right ones. Don't be sporadic. I don't know myself the meaning of sporadic, but it's something like don't alternate.
Yes, sporadic is sometimes yes, sometimes
Yeah, sometimes
no.
yes, sometimes. Okay,
Like
okay. Don't be sporadic. Don't alternate. That means because you don't have conviction in the Dharma practice, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't do. So it is dependent upon your mood. so don't be sporadic, because it's so important that you should concentrate and do the practice continuously. Practice unflinchingly. That means you should wholeheartedly undertake this mind training practice. Be liberated by examination and analysis, as we discussed earlier. It is through examination, analysis, you find out what is good for you to practice, what is bad for you to do, and particularly analyze which of the afflictive emotions has a predominant practice in you, a presence in you, and with much strong effort you should eliminate that. And then again you can relate to the same object in relation to which you develop those negative emotions, and see whether the negative emotions are rising again or not. Because the negative emotions arise in relation to an object. So first you have that negative emotion in relation to an object, then you realize that, then try to weaken that, then again relate to the object and see whether it's coming back again or not. Okay? So in this way you should put an end to those afflictive emotions which has a predominant presence within you. Don't be boastful. It's very difficult to translate this one.
boastful זה שוויצר, שחצן.
It's like arrogance, no?
כן, כן.
Now I know the English word meaning, but the Tibetan word, yeah, something like boastful, but not exact, There are certain English or any language, there are words which you cannot exactly translate in some other language. It always has a different color, different feeling, So, for example, if I had helped you last time, then if repeatedly tell you, oh, I helped you last time, you are ungrateful, I helped you last time. If you keep on saying that, what do you call that in English? It's not boasting.
Pitiful.
Huh?